morning. It's Wednesday, December 17th. National Device Appreciation Day. Capitalism? Is that you? Device Appreciation Day. It makes me a little nervous to type this and then to speak this into devices, and I realize my whole world revolves around devices working well, but this feels like too much, even for me. Please don't hurt me, devices. And now, the news. Starting with an update on things at Brown University, though it is a meager one. Rhode Island police have released a grainy video of the suspect, as well as a pretty vague description. So if you're in the area, be on the lookout for a 5'8" person of stocky build. Great. A $50,000 reward was announced when this enhanced photo was released. If you're just listening to this and you haven't seen the photo, the word enhanced is really doing some heavy lifting here. Once again, hopefully by the time you hear this, this story will be outdated. On Tuesday, Trump announced that following last month's shooting of 2 National Guard troops, he is expanding his travel ban to include 5 more countries. Those 5 countries are Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, South Sudan, and Syria. Citizens of those countries are banned from entering the United States, while 15 more countries will face partial restrictions. I'm trying to think of so many words are passing through my head that are not things I want to have recorded for all times. This man really will do anything he can to fulfill Stephen Miller's super creepy 100 million Americans dream, won't he? Hey, you know how one of the basic ideas, the basic tenets, if you will, of government is being of service, and you can be as jaded as you want, but in theory, the reason that most people got into all of this, at least in the beginning, was to help their community. You know how that is kind of a thing? Well, I still believe that's true, but I also believe Speaker Johnson is here to buck the system. He is so brave. No, I'm kidding. He's never had a brave in his life. On Tuesday, Speaker Johnson held a press conference to say that because about a dozen Republicans are in competitive districts and are trying to win elections, quote, fighting hard to make sure that they reduce costs for all of their constituents, end quote, the House will not vote on the ACA tax subsidies this week, all but assuring those tax subsidies will expire at the end of the year. But don't be mad at Mikey. Don't be mad at those Republicans. Quote, many of them did want to vote on this Obamacare COVID-era subsidy the Democrats created. We looked for a way to try to allow that pressure release valve, and it just was not to be, end quote. It just was not to be. Word salad jumble. He just put a bunch of words, shook them up, and was just not to be. Fear not. If you're mad, I'm mad. Democrats are mad. People are mad. The Republicans are mad too. Moderate Republicans who are trying to actually win an election and not in a way that is tied to a lame duck president and a floundering, peep those polls, conspiracy theory fueled MAGA party. They are also very mad at Speaker Johnson. Again, we will see what today brings. Johnson says that he believes all House Republicans will unite around the underlying healthcare bill, but I don't mean this politically. I mean it literally, logistically. Speaker Johnson is so deeply terrible at his job, it is hard to know if he actually knows what the Republicans that he is supposed to be in charge of will actually do, because they don't like him. They might just vote with the Democrats. They might go full socialism. Everybody might get free healthcare forever just to embarrass Mike Johnson. Who knows? Wild ride we're on. Not a fun one, but it is wild. On Monday, the United States military announced that it carried out strikes on 3 boats that it decided, based on vibes, were trafficking drugs, killing 8 more people. This brings the total killed to over 90. As a reminder, no one has ever offered any evidence, still, that these boats actually have drugs on them. or drug traffickers. We are all just supposed to be very chill about the fact that these murders are happening without any evidence, and that it's being done in our name. As a reminder, Pete Hegseth, who is really, really tough, and this is not about proving anything, how dare you, is already in trouble for a September 2nd strike, which saw a second strike on the survivors of a shipwrecked vessel. A war crime if we were, in fact, at war, but a crime if not. And actually, that footage was supposed to be released so that the American public could see how totally fine this murder was, I think. I don't actually know what the purpose of releasing that video would have been. The law is very clear. That second strike, very illegal. However, on Tuesday, Hegseth and Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced that the video will not be made public. It will be released to the appropriate committees, but not the general public. And by released to the appropriate committees, I mean eventually, because Hegseth spent Tuesday briefing the entire House and Senate on what's happening in Latin America, and specifically talking about these strikes, but apparently he showed up empty-handed. So he'll get to it eventually. Meanwhile, on Monday, Trump declared fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. Don't look now, but I think 2001 wants its vocab back, my guy. Not for nothing, but fentanyl mostly comes into America through Mexico, where it is made using chemicals imported from China. Production is also increasing in Laos, Myanmar, and Thailand. None of those, by the way, are like a mispronunciation of Venezuela. But not unlike the last time we heard WMDs, this is just a sneaky little way into a country where we are not likely to find any. In fact, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, in an interview published Tuesday, said that Trump, quote, wants to keep on blowing boats up until Maduro cries uncle. And people way smarter than me on that say he will, end quote. Trump, quote, has an alcoholic's personality. Vance has been, quote, a conspiracy theorist for a decade. On whether former President Bill Clinton visited Epstein's island, quote, there is no evidence. On whether there is anything incriminating about Clinton in the Epstein files, which Trump said there was, quote, the president was wrong about that. As far as Trump in those files, quote, we know he's in the file, and he's not in the file doing anything awful. Trump, quote, was on Epstein's plane. He's on the manifest. Elon Musk is, quote, an avowed ketamine user. AG Pam Bondi, quote, completely whiffed the Epstein files. Co-author of Project 2025 and head of the Office of Management and Budget, Russell Vought is, quote, a right-wing absolute zealot, end quote. Those are just a few details from part one of 2 parts of Chief of Staff, first female Chief of Staff, in fact, Susie Wiles' interview with Vanity Fair. The interview dropped Tuesday, and the White House is doing mondo damage control, including Susie Wiles calling it a hit piece somehow. By the way, everyone looks great in these Vanity Fair portraits that they willingly sat for in this hit piece. But while Susie Wiles is the start of the show, everyone gave quotes. They all sat for these beautiful photos. They gave quotes. Quote, I don't think there's anyone in the world right now that could do the job she's doing. Rubio said of Wiles. He called her bond with Trump, quote, an earned trust, end quote. Marco Rubio gave that quote to Vanity Fair, hit piece. Probably their bond is not so strong anymore. I think what this sounds like is that Susie Wiles is trusted with a lot of secrets, as anyone in her position would be. She got close with a journalist, forgot that journalist is a journalist. Apparently, this is very common in the Trump administration. See National Security Advisor Mike Waltz's signal contact list, which includes the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, and she let some stuff slide. Mortifying, for sure, but not as mortifying as willingly signing up to work for this White House. We'll see what part 2 brings. Part 1, pretty good stuff. And that's just part 1. That's the teaser. They've got me. I'm ready for part 2. Sign me up. And that's it. That's the news. I'm proud of Chris Whipple, who wrote this Vanity Fair article, because you just know Chris was like, this is gold. Started getting all those quotes. Very exciting. Also, maple syrup. I'm not doing National Device Appreciation Day. One of the scariest books I've ever read was called The Circle, and it's about devices and a fictional company that's basically Apple taking over your life. So more than maple syrup, because you can call me Buddy the Elf, but you're the sweetest dang thing I've seen all day. I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to make it weird. I was trying to be cute. I was trying to say something nice. Because you're sweet. That's all I was trying to say. Call me Buddy the Elf because you're sweet. I'm proud of you.